And now, will you please join me in welcoming our friends, Castlebay.
Thank you so much, Dave. That's just wonderful to have that warm welcome here in this beautiful theater. We so appreciate your team and the town of Camden and the opportunity to be here to share this music with you. Even though you aren't here physically, we are really enjoying the idea that you're sitting there with a glass of something and getting settled to enjoy some music with us. So we were choosing music from New England for this holiday season, looking back into archives and trying to find some good Christmas songs. Well, interestingly, Christmas was not big in New England until the late 1800s. 1870, Charles Dickens came to Boston and shamed everyone into enjoying Christmas. So there aren't a lot of Christmas songs specifically from New England. We've included some new songs and some from archives that we have been examining. But most of them are about that Currier and Ives idea of beautiful, sunny, snowy, cold days and the winter nights with the moon shining on the snow. So we'll just share those through the music with you.
We thought we'd start with a poem by Camden's own Edna St. Vincent Millay called Winter Night. Pile high the hickory and the light chestnut log struck by the blight. Welcome in the winter night. The day has gone to hewing and felling, sawing and drawing wood to the dwelling for the night of talk and storytelling. These are the hours that give the edge to the blunted axe and the bent wedge, straighten the saw and lighten the sledge. Hear a question and reply, and the fire reflected in the thinking eye. So peace, and let the bobcat cry.
'Tis winter now, the fallen snow has left the heavens so coldly clear, all buried o'er the branches now, and all the earth seems dead and drear, and yet God's love is not withdrawn, his life within the keen air breeze, his beauty paints the crimson dawn, and clothes the branches with glittering wreaths. And though abroad the sharp winds blow, and frosts are chill, and air is keen, home closer draws her circle now, and warmer glows the light within. O God that madest winter's cold, as well as summer's glorious rays, us warmly in thy arms enfold, and keep us through life's winter days.
That song was by Samuel Longfellow, who was Henry Wadsworth's younger brother. He was a Unitarian minister, educated at Bowdoin College and Harvard, and edited several books of hymns and penned several hymns himself, in excess of 30, I think. That was one of them.
Native son, Samuel Longfellow. Well, you may have detected a little bit of Celtic influence in that melody, and indeed a lot of the music that we find here in New England has that root, the Celtic root, Irish, Scottish, Scots-Irish, English roots. And this is a tune, a melody, an air from a collection made in Boston by Elias Howe in 1830. He collected song tunes, dance tunes, airs, and published them. So they went out into the community and people learned them and played them in their homes. This tune is called Cold Winter Morning. And we put it together with a newer tune, actually made by the group Alton, Mike Kelly of Alton, who made their debut in the US, right here in Maine. And I wonder if it was winter. I didn't check to be sure, but this tune is called The Snowy Path. And so we have Cold Winter Morning and The Snowy Path. Unresolved chord. Thanks. That's The Snowy Path. And just a little amusing side, that's a slip jig. So very appropriate. Snowy Path.
This next song is by a couple of local musicians, Nick Apollonio and Bob Stewart, who found themselves in a kind of a frosty situation. They
Wow.
tell me that the Celsius and Fahrenheit scales met that night, which is 40 below, and allegedly the whiskey froze.
The night the whiskey froze.
stove was glowing a cherry red. That night we wore all of our clothes to bed and pulled the covers up over our heads the night the whiskey froze. I've never known of a colder night. The wind was blowing with all its might and the mercury dropped out of sight the night the whiskey froze. We wore our hats and mittens too to keep ourselves from turning blue. That's what we did, and so would you on a night that whiskey froze. And we were safe in the raging storm. We snuggled and cuddled all night to keep warm. But 9 months later a child was born from the night the whiskey froze. And mittens too to keep ourselves from turning blue. That's what we did, and so would you on a night that whiskey froze. And we were safe in the raging storm. We snuggled and cuddled all night to keep warm. But 9 months later a child was born from the night the whiskey froze.
I don't know about you, but I'm really glad that time has moved on and I don't have to live in those compromising situations anymore. Well, here's another local interpretation of an old Scottish song, a beautiful melody that's very familiar, but the lyrics depict a very familiar cold winter situation. The writer of the lyrics is Lou Grubb from Rockland. He writes some wonderful songs and poems, and so this is a song from Lou.
Now the winter time has come, and the snow is softly falling, and I could be nice and warm, but this damp dog keeps on stalling. Will you go, laddie, go? And we'll go inside together, out of the wind and snow, and this freezing winter weather. Will you go, laddie, go? Not the rose bush, nor the mailbox, or the lamppost have you chosen, and if you don't soon be, well, I fear we'll both be frozen. Will you go, laddie, go? And we'll go inside together, out of the wind and snow, and the freezing winter weather. Will you go, laddie, go? Now if I could find a genie, and that genie could grant wishes, I'd trade this dog of mine for a glass tank full of fishes. Will you go, laddie, go? and we'll go inside together, out of the wind and snow, and the freezing winter weather. We'll go, laddie, go, laddie, go.
Oh my. Anyone with a dog can relate to that one. All right. Well, you do have to make light of this darkness. My son lives in Norway, so it's even darker there for him. But that dark time when you just really crave the sunlight, you crave the light. Imagine no electricity. So for millennia, people lived in wonder at the return of the light and the return of that warmth that sustains us. Here's a song that I made about that return of that light and how we can hark back to remembering those times when people did not have light. It's called The Darkest Night of the Year. You want to? The candles are burning so low this night. The wind is howling, the snow's in flight. Through the trees can be seen no light, the darkest night of the year. The windows are shuttered, the doors are barred, barren are trees in each forest and yard. Not for years has it been so hard, the darkest night of the year. Upon the hearth is a fire's glow. A mother is singing so soft and low. And what cares she for the wind and snow, the darkest night of the year? For on that night so cold and drear, a child was born, a child so dear, a child who will teach us that love is here, the darkest night of the year. For on this night so cold and drear, a child is born, a child so dear, a child who will teach us that love is here, the darkest night of the year, the darkest night of the year. Thanks. The darkest night. Well, after that dark night, we're going to do a song that we do find in the New England tradition. It's kind of a rare song. Another place we find it is in the Appalachian tradition. A lot of the old stories that were edited out of the Bible end up in the folk tradition. This is one of them. It's not exactly a Christmas song, it's more about a pre-Christmas song.
It's from the Apocrypha, the legend of the cherry tree. When Joseph was an old man was he. He courted Virgin Mary, the Queen of Galilee. He courted Virgin Mary, the Queen of Galilee. As Mary and Joseph walked through an orchard green, they saw berries and cherries as thick as might be seen. They saw berries and cherries as thick as might be seen. Then up he spoke Mary, so meek and so mild, pluck me one cherry, Joseph, for I am with child. Pluck me one cherry, Joseph, for I am with child. Then Joseph grew in anger, and in anger spoke he, let the father of thy baby gather cherries for thee. Let the father of thy baby gather cherries for thee. Then up he spoke the baby, all in his mother's womb. Bow down the tallest tree, for my mother to have sung. Bow down the tallest tree, for my mother to have sung. Then bow down the tallest tree into his mother's hand, and she cried, see now, Joseph, I have cherries at command. And she cried, see now, Joseph, I have cherries at command. Then up bespoke Joseph, I have done Mary wrong. So eat your cherries, Mary, that grow upon the bough. So eat your cherries, Mary, that grow upon the bough. Then Mary plucked a cherry, as red as any blood, and Mary she went homeward, all with her heavy load. And Mary she went homeward, all with her heavy load. Cherry Tree Carol. Well, we're into old songs now, and this one is probably one of the oldest in the New England tradition. It's actually French, and the tune came over with the French priests who went amongst the Native Americans teaching the gospel, and they decided to write new lyrics that reflected the experience here in the New World and using images that perhaps the Native people might appreciate. That's the song. The tune before it is my own, and it's just a little musical portrait of a very cold, crisp, dark winter night with the moon shining on the snow.
Winter Moon and the Huron Carol. Thanks. The Huron Carol and the Winter Moon. Oh, God. Well, This is another newer song. My friend John Morris had a house on Pemaquid Point. He passed away a few years ago, but he was well known for his soundtracks, songs for movie soundtracks, and also for Broadway productions. He had Welsh heritage, and he made music for a production of How Green Was My Valley, known as A Time for Singing. And the story involves a tragedy in a Welsh mining town. And during that terrible time, people look for solace in the music. And this song is kind of harkens back to that beautiful old song, The Three Ships.
Check them all.
I know. 50 ways to leave your levers. Three ships. One day in times of long ago, out on the mist and far away, three ships came sailing into view, glistening in fine array. The first was bronze and burnished gold, then one of pearl, a princely sight. The last was plain with pure white sails, bathed in a beauteous light. And one ship held wisdom and truth for all men, one ship held beauty, their souls to delight. The last ship so plain held a mother and child, and shone with such light, with such radiant light. That ship so plain as plain could be, holding the things we think least of, had brought the greatest gift of all, brought us the gift of love. One ship held wisdom and truth for all men, one ship held beauty, their souls to delight. The last ship so plain held a mother and child, and shone with such light, with such radiant light. That ship so plain as plain could be, holding the things we think least of, had brought the greatest gift of all, brought us the gift of love, brought us the gift of love. Three ships. It's a good one for Camden, don't you think? The beautiful ships. Well, let's see, what have we got? Well, speaking of gifts,
Here's a tune. There's a song that goes with it too, but it's a tune that's been used by Aaron Copland, Appalachian Spring, Sidney Carter, Lord of the Dance. Even Michael Flatley used this tune. But it came from Maine. It was written by Brother John Brackett, a Shaker member of the Shaker community in Alfred, Maine, in 1835.
little did he know where it would go. Our version of Simple Gifts. simple gifts. Gifts are a big part of this season. People giving to each other, receiving gifts from one another. Some of them are homemade, some of them are elaborate. Here's a song that goes back to the late 18th century. And we did find several versions here in New England. The song was made as a response to the change in the calendar when the British Isles finally joined the rest of Europe and adjusted their calendar by 12 days. And so you know what I'm talking about, the 12 days of Christmas. Some people rioted in the streets. They thought they'd lost 12 days out of their lives. And other people decided they would just party for 12 days. What a great solution. So the song harkens back to that time when people didn't quite know what to do with the 12 days.
However, Mrs. Erskine only sang 11 verses, so we don't know what the 12th day is.
This was collected from a Mrs. Erskine from Dixfield, Maine in 1940 by Helen Flanders. And strangely, she only sings 11 verses of the song. We were very taken by this very unusual melody. So get ready for something really different. My true love gave to me one plump partridge on a pear tree. The second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. The third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me three turtle doves, two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. The fourth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me four French hens, three turtle doves, two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. The fifth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me five gold rings, four French hens, three turtle doves, two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. The sixth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me six geese a-laying, five gold rings, four French hens, three turtle doves, two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. The seventh day of Christmas, my true love gave to me seven swans swimming, six geese a-laying, five gold rings, four French hens, three turtle doves, two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. The eighth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me eight ladies dancing, seven swans a-swimming, six geese a-laying, five gold rings, four French hens, three turtle doves, two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. On the ninth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me nine lords a-leaping, eight ladies dancing, seven swans a-swimming, six geese a-laying, five gold rings, four French hens, three turtle doves, two fine ducks, one plump partridge on a pear tree. The 10th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 10 bulls a-bellowing, 9 lords a-leaping, 8 maids, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 fine ducks, 1 partridge on a pear tree. The 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 11 maids a-sweeping, 10 bulls a-bellowing, 9 lords a-leaping, 8 ladies dancing, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 French hens, 3 turtle doves, 2 fine ducks, 1 plump partridge on a pear tree. My goodness. Mrs. Erskine learned that from her grandmother, and I'm told that she was made to pay a forfeit if she could not sing the whole song completely without a mistake. I guess I need to pay a forfeit.
You made a mistake?
I did. My goodness. The bulls a-bellowing are very interesting. That's something different. And the maids a-sweeping. Well, anyway, we wonder what the 12th day was all about.
It's time for our public service announcement. We have established a home for unwanted fruitcakes. We leave a big box at the end of the driveway, and if you get a fruitcake because believe it or not, there are people who don't
I
like
can't
fruitcakes.
believe it. Yeah, they must not be getting the right kind of fruitcakes.
Yeah, now our old New England fruitcakes are moist and lovingly wrapped in a linen cloth soaked in rum or brandy
Rum, by
for
gum.
weeks or months or sometimes years. However,
Because nobody wants to eat them. We do. We love fruitcake.
but the typical fruitcake over by, as our friends say, is covered with this marzipan frosting that resembles nothing so much as concrete.
Indeed. So this song, actually, we found 5 versions of this song in the collections made here. So very popular song about fruitcake, Miss Fogarty's Christmas Cake. Oh, yes.
As I sat by my window one evening, the letterman came unto me, and he brought a nice neat invitation. It was asking me over for tea. Well, I knew it was Fogarty sent it, so I went just for friendship's sake. But the first thing they gave me to tackle was a piece of the Christmas cake. Here's the recipe. There were
Plums and prunes and
berries, raisins and currants and cinnamon too.
there were nuts and cloves and
cherries, but the crust it was made out of glue.
Ew.
There were caraway seeds in abundance. 'Twould give you a fine toothache. 'Twould kill a man twice to be eating a slice of Miss Fogarty's Christmas cake. Now O'Malley, he wanted to try some, but really it wasn't no use, for they worked at it over an hour, but they couldn't get none of it loose. So O'Malley went for the hatchet, while Kelly, he went for a saw, but they only succeeded in smashing the hatchet and Kelly's left jaw.
There were plums and prunes and berries,
Raisins and currants and cinnamon too.
There were nuts and cloves and cherries, but the crust it was made out of glue. Ew.
There were caraway seeds in abundance. 'Twould give you a fine toothache. 'Twould kill a man twice to be eating a slice of Miss Fogarty's Christmas cake. Well, O'Malley came down with a colic. McNulty complained of his head. McFadgen lay down on the sofa, and he swore that he wished he was dead. Miss O'Brien went into hysterics, and she started to wiggle and shake. And the men swore they all had been poisoned after eating Miss Fogarty's cake. There were plums and prunes and berries, raisins and currants and cinnamon too. There were nuts and cloves and cherries, but the crust it was made out of glue.
Ew.
There were caraway seeds in abundance. 'Twould give you a fine toothache. 'Twould kill a man twice to be eating a slice of Miss Fogarty's Christmas cake. Miss Fogarty, proud as a peacock, kept smiling and blinking away, till she tripped over Flanagan's brogans, and she spilled a whole brewing a tea. Gilhooly, she says, you're not eating. Have a little bit more for my sake. Oh, no, says I, Miss Fogarty, please, I've had quite enough of your cake.
There were plums and prunes and berries,
Raisins and currants and cinnamon too.
There were nuts and cloves and
cherries, but the crust it was made out of glue.
There were caraway seeds in abundance.
'Twould give you a fine toothache. 'Twould kill a man twice to be eating a slice of Miss Fogarty's Christmas cake. Then a man came in from the army, a sergeant or some such like. He had a big box full of matches and 100 weight of dynamite. We went 500 yards, well, maybe 7, and we watched while the fuse flame raised. The house, it went up to the heavens. The confection was still in place.
There were plums and prunes and berries, raisins and currants and cinnamon too. There were nuts and cloves and cherries, but the crust, it was made out of glue. There were caraway seeds in abundance. 'Twould give you a fine toothache. 'Twould give a man twice to be eating a slice of Miss Fogarty's Christmas cake. Oh, my goodness. Well, yes, that family gatherings around can be tricky business. But those beautiful postcards, courier and Ives, the sleigh dashing over the snow to grandmother's house is a big part of our image of New England Christmas. So here's a brand new song called Grandmother's House in the Snow. And these are days when we have to just imagine those wonderful times together in the old homestead, grandmother's house in the snow. Winter is coming, we're ready for fun. The skating, the cider, the cinnamon buns, and the cheerful bright smiles as warm as the sun at grandmother's house in the snow. The journey will take us an hour or more, but we never will mind, for we know what's in store. There's a light at the window and hugs at the door at grandmother's house in the snow. I've been to the city with bright shining lights and tropical islands with blossoming nights, but I think that there really is nothing as nice as grandmother's house in the snow. We'll go to the forest and look for a tree, wading through snowdrifts dear up to our knees. There are starry nights up by singling and teasing at grandmother's house in the snow. And though the years pass and the seasons they turn, with laughter and tears and the lessons we've learned, we'll gather together and always return to grandmother's house in the snow. Grandmother's house in the snow. Bit of Norman Rockwell there. Grandmother's house.
Well, we did a song by Samuel Longfellow, so we thought we'd give his brother Henry equal time. This is a poem that he wrote during the Civil War when the country was being torn apart, and he was discouraged. His wife had also been killed, and his son badly wounded in the war. But in spite of that, he found hope. So this poem has been set to music many times. We're going to do the modern Johnny Marks version. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on And as now the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had tolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. But 'twas as if an earthquake rent the hard stones of the continent and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then peal the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail and right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day. A song, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men.
Yeah, classic song. If anyone is interested in possibly taking some of this music home with them, you can go to our website at castlebay.net, and we do have a new recording called The Winter Moon that has a number of these songs on that recording. If you still have a CD player, there are also downloads available, but the CD cover's kind of attractive. So The Winter Moon is our latest recording. And we're going to finish up with a wonderful, jolly song that wishes good health to everyone, which is certainly appropriate, especially this year. We looked for versions of these wassail songs here in New England, and in fact, we could not find any. And that may be because of Prohibition, which began here in Maine in 1853. They cut down the apple orchards so that no one could make hard cider. Of course, nobody touched a drop in New England from 1853 until the end of Prohibition in the 1900s. Ha ha. But
Yes, I have a song about that too.
but there are no wassail songs that we could find here in New England, so we had to go further south to Kentucky, where of course they're famous for their white lightning and illicit liquor.
So this is the Kentucky wassail, and we've combined it with the Gloucestershire wassail. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of wassail songs in England, but we'll just do the one.
And in case you didn't know, wassail is the Anglo-Saxon word for good health. So we'll end with this, and again, just tremendous heartfelt thanks to the Camden Opera House,
Indeed.
the team, to the city of Camden, town of Camden, and to all of you for tuning in to share a little bit of lightness in this dark time. And I hope that we will see you again in the new year. So wassail.
Wassail all over the town. Our cup it's white and our ale it's brown. Our cup it's made of the old oak tree, and the ale is made in Kentucky. And it's joy be to you, and a jolly wassail. Master and Mrs., are you within? Oh, open up your door and let us come in. We see you are sitting by the boot of your fire, not giving us a thought in the mud or the mire.
And it's joy be to you,
and a jolly wassail. Where's that gal with that silly little pin to open up the door and let us come in? Good Master and Mrs., it's our desire for a good piece of cheese and a toast by a fire.
And it's joy be to you,
and a jolly wassail. Now there was an old woman, she had a little house, and for a pet she kept a wee tiny mouse and a wee tiny stove just to keep her house warm. Now a little bit of liquor won't do us no harm, and it's joy be to you, and a jolly wassail. Camden drank his booze from a pail, and this is the night we sing wassail. Good Master and Mrs., alas we part, but we bless this house from the bottom of our heart, and it's joy be to you, and a jolly wassail. Wassail, wassail all over the town. Our toast it is white and our ale it is brown. Our bowl it is made of the white maple tree. With a wassailing bowl we'll drink to thee.
And here's to broad May and to her broad horn. May God grant our muster a good crop of corn, and a good crop of corn that may we all see. With a wassailing bowl we'll drink to thee.
Wassail,
Wassail all over the town. Our toast it is white and our ale it is brown. Our bowl it is made of the white maple tree. With a wassailing bowl we'll bring to thee.
And here's to Dubbin and to his right eye. May God grant our master a good Christmas pie,
And a good Christmas pie that may we all see. With a wassailing bowl we'll drink to thee. Wassail, wassail all over the town. Our toast it is white and our ale it is brown. Our bowl it is made of the white maple tree. With a wassailing bowl we'll drink to thee. And here's to the maid in the lily white smock, who tripped down the stairs and slipped back the lock, who slipped back the lock and pulled back the pin to let these jolly wassailers in. Wassail, wassail all over the town. Our toast is white and our ale it is brown. Our bowl it is made of the white maple tree. With a wassailing bowl we'll drink to thee. Wassail, wassail all over the town. Our toast it is white and our ale it is brown. Our bowl it is made of the white maple tree. With a wassailing bowl we'll drink to thee. Wassail. Thank you all.
Thank you all.